That also was a lie, just to use normal electricity. So I
Ah,
wanted to cover that. No, I mean normal lightning, normal lightning.
all right. I figured it out. I figured it out. We're live. We're live on YouTube now as well. I had to actually go in manually and start it because it doesn't. It's not set to auto start. That's why. I guess I don't know.
Did you pull the pull cord? Did you have to pull the cord?
I had to pull it. I had to pull it. Yeah. But all right. So let's go back to something here that we can look at. So you said you uploaded an image. It didn't keep it. It told you to go screw your face, and
Well, well, I picked the image last time, and that same image popped up this time to just before I was to officially enter, and I just clicked off the video,
hmm,
and then the image went turned all black. Everything turned black, and then it entered me. Then everything turned blue, but that
yeah,
picture
huh,
is not here.
bizarre.
And of course, yeah, and of course, I remember the pic you have up from what you sent me in Skype. So,
Right, right, right. Yeah, I kind
yeah,
of, I got a, I got a lot of this custom stuff going on here in OBS, and it's not easy to keep track of sometimes.
I can imagine.
Uh,
And when you said convoluted, you made me think of Charlotte's Web, by the way. But this is way more complicated than any old spider web trying to get the message out
yeah. Mm.
onto the web.
Well, the thing about it is, we got a lot of competition, and I mean, if like these like 15-year-old punk ass gamers are going to be doing a better job than we are producing our own content, Jesus, something's wrong.
Well, that's what they're absolutely focused on, for one.
Oh yeah,
And all their friends are too. So that's like encouragement and
right,
energy. And,
right.
it's like,
They probably collectively still haven't done as many drugs as I have. So yeah, I guess you're right.
well, at least you go camping once in a while, get out into nature.
Yeah. Well, I'm lucky I have a backyard that I can go into. It's not huge, but it's just big enough that I can, I can do some stuff with the bow and arrow, and do some practice shooting. Take the dog out. The dog can run around, and then
Right, right.
not get a
But
squirrel.
but just remember, you weren't doing drugs.
No, no, they were doing me, I think.
Yeah, they were doing you. That's it. Just like this gray, silver, blue alien is doing his little what he's addicted to anyway.
I guess that's where AIDS came from.
It came out of his penis.
I don't know.
Wait, is that him giving birth to
Did
an
you
ape?
say what came from Venus? What? All right,
Yeah,
we're just talking silliness here now. But
silly Billy.
let's use our time wisely, as well as our listeners' time a little bit more
Yeah, that's true.
a little more efficiently here. Anyway, I'd like to thank you guys for listening in. If anybody is, I think we got our 3 listeners. Um,
Yeah, peace, and that's 3 fingers up. Peace.
well, I mean, I did the whole thing on purpose just for YouTube, and YouTube failed me for a second there, but looks like it's streaming live now. I got
Yeah.
somebody watched it for a minute and a half.
Well, I hope they heard the Tesla part, but what I usually try to get to is to drag everyone back pre-Tesla. There was bunches of inventors and free energy people and normal electrical energy innovators and researchers at the time. But the first one is the most important. People keep thinking like, you know, Ben Franklin discovered electricity, bam, with the kite, and it was like a 2 foot kite. They all
Yeah.
think, and
Well, that's
basically,
like Columbus. That's like Columbus discovering America. It's like
yeah, yeah.
it's the same idea.
And then eventually, right, you have Marconi, and eventually, what's his name? And then Tesla. And Tesla was really, really good and did all kinds of great stuff with AC and polyphase and lightning.
Yeah,
Just
but
all the list.
Tesla though he had one problem. He had one problem. If people aren't aware, and it's that he just didn't have a lot of people behind him.
Right. He only had the rich people behind him up until he said, "No, there's no meter on it. Can't meter it."
Oh, you see? Oh, we're off to a bad start here. Hey, Tony, go
Yeah,
break his kneecaps.
right. But see, people think it basically went from like, figuring out Voltaire making his battery pile, and but then, we figured out what electricity was. We have the basic inventor story. And Faraday was pretty big. He basically invented the first generator, hand test and cranks and all that. And Tesla, after him and Maxwell, Tesla comes in, and some of them are all working on kind of the same stuff. And then Tesla became super big. And finally, Tesla, not anyone before him, but Tesla figured out free energy. And it wasn't even free energy, it was tapping the resource in the sky.
Yeah,
So, and they all thought it was just the atmosphere at first. And when in reality, it was connecting the ionosphere and to the ground essentially. But what I'm trying to get to is free energy came from the real father of electricity, and that was Faraday.
mm,
And Faraday discovered free energy during the first. He is the first. He is where electrical generators come from in our current history.
mm,
And he didn't just figure out normal generation at a primitive level, and then the next guy improved it a little, and then another one, and finally Tesla. No, he actually had free energy by that time. As soon as the electrical generator was created, we had free energy. It was completely impractical.
can I just interject with a question? Actually, I was going to ask you, wasn't it wasn't it diesel motors on boats? Wasn't that the first actual application for electrical production? Wasn't it a byproduct, and that's how?
I don't remember. I forgot.
Isn't
I
that
remember that issue. I remember that came up. I know you
because
could be right.
because if I'm not mistaken, the Gatling gun, you know, the minigun as we know it. Well, the Gatling gun basically already, well, the minigun pretty much already existed. Like the design already existed, except for it couldn't be used in the field because of its power requirements, because it had to be an electrical system. And they were able to install it on boats, I think, as early as World War One.
Yeah, wasn't it? But wasn't it by crank? What didn't they?
No, no, no. They literally on boats. They literally had electrical power from like diesel engines on
I
board.
think you're right, but I think originally they
Oh, the very first ones. Yes, 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 absolutely. But that was a field Gatling gun with the hand crank. Yes, yes, they did have that. But that was just primitive Gatling. I mean, like these three
right.
thousand round per minute volleys were actually conceivable.
Yeah, yeah,
Espe-
right, and everything.
yeah, especially for like anti-aircraft and stuff like that too. Like, because I mean, you'd have such a small window for targeting, and for target acquisition and firing. I mean, you'd have this tiny, tiny ass window. So I mean, the more rounds you could put down range in one spot, the better. I mean,
Yeah,
depending what end you're on, but I yeah, but
yeah, exactly.
yeah, I
You know,
mean,
you know the good thing. You know the good thing about having bullets shooting down at people from a plane, though, even though they weigh a lot. You know, the good thing about them is if you're shooting down, but you're shooting backwards, it's helping you stay up and move forward a little.
mm, yeah. Yeah, it's I wouldn't want to be in front of any of those guns, man. Those those aircraft weapons are pretty damn pretty beefy, pretty bad. I mean, you're looking at 20 millimeter rounds. I mean, these things are like the size of your fist. Uh,
Yeah.
you know.
We used to look for them in the old forts, and people mostly already grabbed them all up, like my uncles and then kids that came before me. But a few were dug out of the big giant cannon holes too, the mount holes. You know,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah. So no cannons were there, but the big giant hole, circle holes in
You,
the cement
you,
were
you,
there.
you knew where they were supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So going back to the 0 point energy though, it's kind of interesting though that only now are we starting to realize, like with quantum tunneling, even quantum theory in general is starting to paint a picture of multiple dimensions curled in on themselves. And
I actually am against all that. I am see, I went through a lot of those phases
yeah,
and I analyzed it very thoroughly, and all of that was designed, and I know the inside people. It turns out ether, the one thing they say, and I understand, I mean, it was very alluring. It sounds magical and even spiritual, and like it's cool, and
yeah.
like to try to, you know, it's very alluring, and I was very into it for a
If I
while.
see it work, if I see it work, it works. That's all I gotta say. If I see it work,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, like
yeah,
the whole idea of quantum is ether, though. That's the whole point. That's the whole point behind the ether is that, like, like quantum physics in itself is just a way to quantify the space in between things. Like that's essentially. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that, but essentially, it's about quantification of the ether. It's
yeah, and
essentially.
right. That's how I look at it. And let's say, an ether is like just a sphere, a bunch of spheres, sort of like, hydraulic and pneumatic kind of fluid dynamic stuff, or atmospheric type gas pressure kind of related science. And I look at it this way: the spheres are a quantification in themselves. They're a perfect quantification because they would be 100% perfectly spherical,
Right.
completely,
Hmm.
and it's like quantum means it's like a quantum sudden leap from one state to a different state. So you go from vacuum to suddenly, instantaneously, suddenly a complete solid, or we can
Yeah.
define that later, what solid really means. But
Well,
so to me, that was the ultimate quantum leap.
oh, I see what you're talking about actual physical like states of matter changing. I mean, plasma
Yeah,
could be considered something along those lines as well. Um, okay, so I'm doing it again. I'm leaning into my microphone when I don't actually have it on.
I, I should probably have my headset on. I have to lean forward on and lean on my elbow towards the
Well, I put it.
actually I probably
I put this microphone away from my face so that I wouldn't go trying to use it, and I'm just slowly leaning into it. It's just like
I
it's
need I need a microphone holder. I need the little mini stand actually.
yeah, mine's about to snap. It's about to break. I got one of those $30 jobbies off the internet.
Yeah, that's what I
It,
used to have. I
it's gonna
think I had
it's gonna break. It's gonna break real soon. I've got
I had that or a cheaper one than that. That's
off like outside of the camera frame. I literally have like things cobbled together to hold it into place, and that's about that. it's
I know what you can
it's
use.
it's all smoke and mirrors. What's that?
Yeah, you can use they used to have those lamps that with on the arm, like it stretches out and pivots around, and it's got like it bends according to how you bend it, so the lamp aims.
Like one of those like one of those bendy sticks. Those
Well, I meant the old-fashioned kind, jokingly, the old metal dual rod metal things you could
not a
attach
torch.
to. No, no. It's like a metal robot arm almost, and it
Oh, I know what you're
eh,
talking about. Like the old school one. They used to have those big freaking magnifying glasses on them.
yeah, yeah,
Those are
yeah.
dope, man. Those are killer, man. They had the ring shaped bulbs in them already. Like they used to make those. They used to be common, but now you buy them like for $80 on Amazon as a photography uh, accessory. It's stupid, but
Oh, yeah,
those
I
things used to
know.
be so popular back in the day. I mean, that's how far I go back.
Oh, now we have Fresnel lenses, though.
Oh yeah, the Fresnel. I think that's how they say that.
Well, it's actually both, and when I learned about it, they were the Fresnel with the S, and there's definitely both. And it was
Fresno,
actually
California.
I don't know. I mean, that's what I used to read. I could order and buy them out of magazines, although I could not afford them. Um,
Right,
I've been mostly broke most of my life, but I'm the one who needs the money. I'm the one who deserves. I know what to do with the money.
right, right. Can I get some poutine, please?
Yeah.
But
You-
yeah, no, I think what they're getting after with the whole point behind the 0 point energy is similar to how they're kind of steering towards with gravity, because gravity can't be explained with what we see and with what we experience, because it's just
Well,
simply not enough data, and with what we see the math doesn't work out because there isn't there isn't enough stuff to substantiate, even though gravity is a weaker force, it still isn't enough there. So they're saying that if there are these other multiple dimensions, not multiple dimensions, but higher dimensions that we can't see through, like, because we're kind of limited physically in our three-dimensional space, and of course, causality and time. But like these other artifacts do, or don't, we can't say they do, but they can exist because mathematically they seem to work out. And if you started to spread out the accumulative effect of gravity across these other dimensional realities, I mean, it's potential that that would add up to the number that they're looking for, or at least this is what they're, surmising.
it sort of does, and yet it doesn't, and that's what I used to go over and
Yeah.
over and over in my head. I used to have dimensional charts. In other
See, yeah.
words,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. That was just like M theory though. Like that was when they were trying to. I mean, string theory didn't last very long, but with quantum, like it had some great points though. It had some great points because the whole string theory kind of idea does kind of resonate with. Sorry, I should be shot and pissed on, but no, it kind of does resonate because like the whole bit about like fields, like you have different kind of like particle fields, for instance. Like if a particle gives off, not gives off, but its very existence, its vibration is basically one of these strings. And whether it's closed or looped or whatever, who knows? I have no idea. I'm not a string theorist, but the actual harmony aspect of it, the vibration aspect of it, this starts to cater towards what they're talking about with quantum theory. And like you throw in that fourth dimension of time, and you start to actually get like a band, like an energy band that's given off by that particular particle. Like, so the electrons give off their own particle field, and that carried through time as like a band or a larger superstring, you know what I mean, that's kind of stretched through time as a field. And like you get all these different fields and you add them all together, and then they start to have like an accumulative crossover of sorts. And I don't know if that's a thing, but that's my interpretation of how all of these fields kind of add up. Like, for instance, you add enough of it together and you get mass, you get matter. You know what I mean? Like,
well, here's what I teach. See, yeah, that all used to make sense to a degree to me, of course, and it fascinated me. And knowing insiders and doing intensive, long-term, lifelong, intense thinking and analyzing reality in itself, everything, being basically an elitist, and I mean really intensely, in many aspects, in all areas that I had time for. Um, I basically figured out, and then it was confirmed by insiders, and I used to read the alternative suppressed science, and it would corroborate basically what I was onto, and things that were done for tests in the past. What it comes down to is the closest thing is it's two things. All right. The reason the whole all these theories, string theory and more, are being promoted in college are the distraction on purpose. And they divided up everything and made it more and more magical, mystical, and on the whole concept of warped space from Einstein on. From that moment on, everything was destroyed. All science was ruined, kind of. And it was done on purpose. And I proved it. and I don't know the best way to explain it, but it comes down to this: you can't have if we had those different dimensions, things would be literally moving in and out of those other dimensions, literally disappearing and appearing, changing shape and size all the time on a
But
absolutely regular second by second basis.
what if
And
they are? And that's just it. I mean, what if they absolutely are doing that, and we're only privy to some of those permutations, like some of those energy patterns, we might not even know to look for them or even be able to detect them.
well, I mean, it would be as open space as normal open 3D space, like out in the atmosphere. Like a red ball you'd be holding would literally disappear entirely and come back or appear 5 miles away, or it wouldn't be just a molecular.
Hey man, I lose my keys all the time, and they're exactly where I thought they were every fucking time. I swear. No, I'm kidding, but no, it's true. I swear. Like but also, like, I mean, what if time scale is a thing? I'm just throwing things at you. I'm just throwing balls at you here. So,
Yeah,
but I
I
mean,
mean, in
what if
one way,
time scale is a thing? Like, what if these things happen on? What if they happen so often? It's like as often as a kid farts. You know what I mean? But it's just that we're on such a tiny time scale that it seems super vast to us. Like like maybe maybe this whole park has been only been open for like a couple days. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, in a way, things can be rearranged, at least mathematically, in our minds, our soul mind, to equate to literally anything, and everything is just a formula, like a bunch of numbers in a row, and it's just encoded. We can decode anything by using any type of decoder, any kind of filter that we feel like it. And but when it comes down to really hard, unchangeable
yeah,
reality, what I'm saying
yeah,
isn't just because of what I just explained.
yeah.
I proved there's no warp space, and what I found out is that the one thing they tell us is absolutely not true. The one thing, it's only one. It is only one thing, and it is the ether. They say, nope, nope, hands down, absolutely disproven, Michelson morally, blah, blah, blah.
Well,
And we'll
actually,
never go back to it.
no. It's just Einstein just chose to leave it out because when he would try to factor it in, it just actually didn't work. So he just said, "Fuck it, I'm just leaving it out then." And
Nah, he botched it up. It does work. There's other ways to make it work.
oh, I'm just saying he just left it out though. I'm just saying for all it's worth, I'm just saying he left it out. He just said, "Okay, I'm just going to omit it. I'm not going to put it in." Whether he botched it or not
Oh
is
yeah,
besides the point. I'm just saying he left it out. Like he's just like, "Fuck it, I'm not putting it in." And
yeah. uh, Some of his
because
sayings, though.
one of his contemporaries was really big on the ether. I can't remember what the guy's name was, but one of his contemporaries was huge on the whole ether thing.
Was it Dirac? Was it Paul Dirac?
It could very well have been. I don't know.
No, yeah, I think it was Paul. That was one of them. Yeah.
There's nothing.
So,
There's nothing worse and more depraved than a man on the in the throes of an ether binge. There you go. A little Hunter S. Thompson for you.
but that's the secret behind the government, and that's what the government knows and does. The secret Illuminati and everything teach the ether, and everything else was intentionally to distract and confuse and make it ever more and more difficult and more confusing.
Well,
And
I get that. I get that 100%. Like one of my favorite people on the planet, even to this day, and I can't believe he's still alive. Damn it, is Noam Chomsky. I mean, I don't agree with everything he says, but I love the guy. I mean, he's
I
absolutely brilliant.
I used to, and now what he's saying is really ticking me off. But I understand it's what he's saying is he believes in the pandemic, I believe.
Well, he's
And
also old. He's like, shut up upstairs. That's not music. Just like what's his name? What's his name made fun of him. Bill Burr made fun of not him, but made fun of old people there. It's like
oh yeah,
that's not music. It's really
yeah.
hilarious. But
I
anyway,
I have I have a friend who did know and meet, and I maybe even regularly was talking with Gnome, and I'm gonna have to try to get back in touch with him too.
Hmm. Right on. Well, there's a guy who does podcasts, Kurt Jermungle, and I watch a lot of his podcasts that he does.
Oh wait, say that again. That's a cool name.
Uh, Kurt Jermungle.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. I like the guy. He's a pretty straight laced guy trying to look into other things. He's got a podcast called Theory of Everything. I like some of his guests. I like his approach anyway. I like the way he approaches the show, because he's kind of like delving into some of these areas of like UFOs and stuff like that from a physics and scientific perspective. And anyways, not a plug for him, don't worry. but no, he has had Noam Chomsky on there at least 2 or 3 times in the last year alone. So he always comes back to his podcast to do to basically do the Ask Me Anything kind of a lightning round type deal.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but yeah, it's just I remember when I first read one. I read one of his books. Can't remember which one it was now. But one of the things that stuck with me was how he mentioned that compartmentalization of information and language, and also of education, are the segregating factors of a society that turns knowledge into a commodity, and that's how the race starts. I mean, then you get to a good college, then you get to a new university, find your fraternity, that kind of deal, and onward you go. But he recognized the problems with that, like in a society, like, and without saying so much, basically, said that like a society can either undermine itself by making knowledge a commodity, or you know like the way it's doing it right now is making it so that different professions can't speak to each other in their own languages.
Right, right, exactly.
You know,
Yeah, I've been saying things like that. Anyway, I like the way that was put, though.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's one of the things that stuck with me though. So I always go back to that when I start thinking about it, and I mean, that's why we always defer to the experts, because the experts always seem to have this, you know, this knowledge that we don't, because, well, we didn't study that thing, whatever it was. And kind of it's a good segue to bring us back to what we were talking about before with Fauci.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
this whole thing,
Ouchie, ouchie. You say it right now.
Fauci, ouchie, yeah. he's he's a piece of work, man. He is a piece of work. But the bit that you gotta watch is the Cassidy bit. Do you got another 5 or 6 minutes? This thing is only 6 minutes
Uh,
long. If you want to watch it.
yeah, yeah. But let me. I just wanted to get back to clarify
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
Faraday. The reason I said Faraday discovered free energy was based in the homopolar um homopolar generator, the unipolar homopolar generator, the drag free generator. But yeah, let's watch.
Hmm. We're gonna have to continue to talk on energy another time, because there's gonna be so much to unpack into that.
Well,
Um,
not only that, I do know what gravity is, and I do know how the ether generates it. We'll talk about that in the future too.
all right, sounds good. We'll have to make a
Yeah.
note of that. Um, I Yeah, I will make a note of that. Okay,
Note this selfie.
let me grab this video here. Um, Everyone else should be able to hear it just fine. It's going to go over the beer tube. Beertube.epgn.ch. And then just going to go over the videos.
Mm.
All right, so yeah, this is Senator Cassidy. He grills basically whatever her name is, friggin' Wells. I don't know what the Christ her name. Walensky.
Yeah.
That's yeah. And wow, she is just a fountain of information.
Fountainhead.
Oh, she's just a fountain of information. Ah, she's oof. It's definitely a piece of work, that one.
That
Um,
I think that was the one I didn't see.
I think
I've
that's the
seen
one
everything
you.
else.
Yeah, that's the one I don't think you actually watched. So that's why I'm gonna
I
pull
will.
that one up here. Carla, where are you?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we're here today to discuss.
All right. So hang on a second. I'll feed that back in. Where's the Carla? There it is. Aha. This is hilarious. Okay, so Brave should be feeding into you somewhere. Oh, it just.
Daylight savings time took effect over here.
Oh,
Discuss
did
the
it?
road ahead on the
Yeah.
So
pandemic
did you
At
did
response,
midnight.
and I
did you go forward
fear
or
that
back?
road will be a rocky one if we
Back.
forget the lessons
Wait,
that
did we
we've
go
learned
back?
thus far.
No, what did we do?
Particularly
I
when it
can't
comes
even
to
think
our
about it right
ability
now.
to make critical
All
supplies.
right.
No, yeah, we fell back. Yeah, of course.
All right. Can you hear that?
Yeah. Nope.
No.
No.
Oh.
I think I hear
Oh, hey, hang on. You will now.
Cricket crawling on your desktop, though.
I don't know what that is.
There's
Dr.
something
Walensky,
back there.
couple things. As I walked in, I came in late. One of either you or Dr. Fauci
Can you hear
was
that?
saying that
No.
the reason that we're not saying that
yep, got
natural
this one.
immunity
Okay.
is protective as is a vaccine, even though there's recent publications showing that 6 to 8 months out, 92% of those with natural immunity have T cells, B cells, and antibodies that would be considered adequate to protect. And indeed, B cell continues to climb. That we don't have data.
My dog's barking at
Now, in
this
your response
stupid.
to Mr. Casey, you just mentioned that CDC has access to tens of thousands of EHRs. And I've been told that HHS or CDC has access to patient identifiable data as to who tests positive. So I do that as a prologue. If we don't know that natural immunity confers protection against future infection, it's because we've decided not to look. Because I've learned that there is a cohort of people that we know have been previously infected. We've got the bench research showing that the triad of antibodies, T cells, and B cells are there, and that 92% of them are still there at 6 months out. So why have we not done the research showing that natural immunity confers protection against recurrent infection?
Yeah, thank you so much for allowing me to clarify this point because I understand the question. First of all, let me just reiterate that our current stand after reviewing 96 papers and a scientific brief on this issue is that everyone who's been previously infected should be vaccinated.
But that's not my question.
Right, agreed. And part of the challenge here is, as you know, the infection-induced immunity and the biases associated with retrospectively looking at the data. Several of those papers that we reviewed for that brief have demonstrated that the kind of disease that you had at the time you had it matters. Did you have disease a year and a half ago? Were you an older person?
Can I stop you for a second?
Were you?
We could do this prospectively because you know who is actually, apparently I'm told you've got patient identifiable data, and you would be able to say, okay, 6 months ago, we're going to start everybody infected within the last 6 months and be able to follow their EHR prospectively to see this. I mean, theoretically, CDC has the ability to do this right now.
Yeah, that too would have its own biases. So one of the things that we have demonstrated in the scientific brief is that asymptomatic and mildly symptomatic people who might not present to their providers, might present to an urgent care clinic, who might not be recorded in their own EHR, likely have less robust protection than those who've been severely
But that could be established prospectively if using the data that you have. And you could even say, if you had symptomatic infection, you don't need to be vaccinated. We would consider you immune. You don't have to be subjected to the mandate. But
if we had data that demonstrated a correlation of protection, Dr. Fauci already mentioned data that they're working on to look at correlates of protection, not just in antibodies, but as you noted, in T cell function as well. So if we were able to document a correlate of protection, we absolutely could prospectively
But this paper
follow.
that I'm reading from NIH speaks that there is durable memory of the virus up to 8 months after infection in 95% of the people who recovered, including B cells, which continue to climb, T cells, and antibody. And I'm also saying you could do it clinically because we have data that's patient identifiable that we could go back and look and see if they were exposed. They could be in a hot spot like Louisiana, where you know they're being exposed, and then you would see, not just by lab data, but empirically. I can tell you the American people intuitively understand this, and they feel a little bit like we're being willfully blind to it. I have limited time. Let me just ask you something else. What % of CDC employees are vaccinated?
We're actively encouraging vaccination in all of our employees and doing a lot of education and outreach in order to get our agency fully vaccinated.
And but the percent?
I don't have that for you today.
I'm told that 75 to some north of 75% of CDC employees at headquarters are still working remotely. Is that correct?
We are following regulations through HHS and the federal government.
No, that's not my question. I apologize to be rude, but I'm asking a very straightforward question. I've been told that north of 75% of employees at CDC headquarters are working remotely. Is that correct?
Senator, I don't actually know the number off the top of my head.
Okay, when you
so
look
I'd
down
have
the
to-
hallway,
Useless.
are over 50% of the desks empty?
Senator,
Fountainhead.
I don't have the numbers
fountain.
off the top of my head. What I will tell you is that we're working closely within HHS and the administration to follow governmental rules for return to
There
the
was a recent GAO report that shows, and released in the last 2 weeks, that there's been no coordinated response from the federal government to get people back into work. Now, if there's any agency that, since we have teachers in Fulton County are back at work, that the caseload of COVID in Fulton County is about 88. At its peak, it was 606. If what I've been told by someone who, frankly, kind of knows, that people in laboratories are not showing up. I have no clue how laboratory workers who presumably are vaccinated wearing PPE would consider themselves eligible to stay at home. I say this because I just want to echo. We got to lead by example in the federal government. If our public health agencies don't have enough confidence in the immunization and in the PPE to go back to work, fighting infectious diseases.
Everybody pick up a
there's gonna be
stone.
a lot of undermining of a willingness
Sticks or stones,
to
whatever.
further fund public health.
We absolutely have our essential labs back at work conducting their essential research towards this response. And we are following the regulations and providing technical assistance and technical support to the federal government for return to work policies.
One more thing, Angus King and I had sent a letter dated February the 25th asking about genomic surveillance. We've still not received a response. You referenced it in your earlier remarks. Both Senator King and I would appreciate a response.
We'll get back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. I'm going to go vote the next.
What a useless twat.
They all are. I mean, they all talk like that. They all dance around the subject. You know, they think they're professionals too.
Well, it was especially funny when basically she thought she had a run. Like I just shot out the 2 sentences I wanted to get the intro out. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna make a break for it now. He's like, whoa, slow down, miss.
She thought she was dominating.
Yeah, she was too busy. She was too busy listening to her own mouth move rather than and nothing else. That's
And
hilarious.
her echoes, and the echoes coming back off the wall.
Yeah, and I mean, like, she just like, oh yeah. She would never actually answer the question directly at all. Like, would even address it. Like, just go, okay, time for speech number 3.
yeah, exactly.
It's the closest thing that matches what I'm
I mean,
supposed to
they're
respond.
going to be programmed robots pretty soon anyway. They'll just have the programmed responses. I used to be a telemarketer, and we had programmed responses. Literally,
yeah,
we
I've
could
done
not deviate.
Yeah.
If they asked a question, we'd have to give one of the 3 or 4 answers, and if it didn't really answer their question or even apply, we still had to pick one of those damn responses.
Yeah. Or is there anything else I can help you with? Yeah, no, I used to do telemarketing as well a long time ago, and then I also did I did a lot of retail sales. And one of the things about retail sales is handling refusals and rebutting against refusals. So, like, you know, that's a young man's game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're reminding me of salesman days, kind of, too. I basically knew how to destroy the planet, but and save it either way, whatever. But conceptually, in many ways, many, many, many ways. But yet, I was doing these menial jobs to avoid being in the government, the mafia. So I'm doing this shit work, and I didn't feel bad for the people that much because I looked at the people as the reason why I was trapped in my situation in the first place.
Right.
You know,
I've always had like I've always been doing some kind of shit job somewhere, doing something somewhere. Like I've never I've either been working for myself or working some other shit job. I used to do construction and stuff just
oh,
just to pay the bills. I mean, that was the only thing. And then I kind of got halfway decent at it, and then yeah, it was just okay. Fuck it. I went for my apprenticeship, and I was at the good hardy age of 45. I started my apprenticeship, and I had a double hernia and couldn't work by the time I turned 46.
I mean, I was trying to avoid all those kind of things as a kid. I didn't want to be anything typical, and I didn't want to typically get hurt at work
Yeah.
or eventually end up with a bad back. Now I have a bad back and neck because of all this shit
Yeah.
that I kept being forced into, although I really at heart was
I didn't want to
you
settle
know
for something that I might like. So I went with construction to begin with just because it was something like, okay, physical labor, I can feel good about it. I'll just do it, make money, pay my rent, and meanwhile, keep on slugging away trying to get EPGN started. And it only took me 15 years, but hey, whatever. It wasn't even called EPGN back then. It was, what was it called? Creative Minds Enterprises is what the original name was.
Oh, I think I've seen some of your videos in the past going through the internet.
Mm.
Since I took a look at your recent ones with your older picture, I mean, I don't think it's too old, but I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't look like you now exactly.
Well, I started around 2014 on with the YouTube. That was the year that I got my YouTube cherry burst.
Yeah, and I was really just getting on the net around 20. I was on it, but I finally had my own cable at home to be on the
Uh,
net at home around just a little before that, not like 2010. I don't know, something like
hmm,
that.
hmm.
And that was
Yeah.
when I was starting to get to know
I didn't
all
even
that other.
start watching YouTube until 2010. 2010 was the year that I started to watch YouTube.
Yeah, it's like about that for me too. Other than
Uh,
friends of mine, I kind of saw it at their house.
I didn't even get it. I didn't understand the principle, the concept. I didn't like it. I stayed away from it for so many years. Like I didn't even understand what it was. I didn't like social media to begin with. So I
I
just
didn't. I kind of liked and I hated the idea for different reasons,
mhm.
but I liked YouTube, and it was actually giving me hope. Although I still knew the plan was that was a big giant Trojan horse.
Well, the original creators of YouTube, I don't think there's anything wrong with them because I mean they sold it and then it went into someone else's hands. Um, I don't think they're particularly vile. Not any more than any other developer, you know.
Oh, well, no, because, well, maybe, I don't know when they exactly do. I mean, the thing is, every idea is somebody, cr- there's no, there never is any new inventions or
Well,
ideas.
and sorry,
It's,
what I meant to say was I was talking about YouTube, not Google. Sorry, YouTube when it was originally started, it was started for like freedom of speech. And the original creators who sold it, they, I mean, they were sitting pretty after their sale. But don't get me wrong, but I don't think it was their intention to created what YouTube has become today. Because now it's just a controlling factor. I mean, you've got YouTube on one side, you've got Facebook on the other. Um, like I just had some guy come out of the blue today and just, you know, uh, tell me that there's all this pathetic drivel from my channel. It's like, okay, that's nice. You had to just come out and
thanks.
say something. Thanks, bud. Thanks, but no thanks. Like it's like, and it's just like, whoa. like, why did you waste your time just telling me how much you just didn't like my thing? Like, it's like, you watched it though,
Yeah, he
obviously.
watched it and he just wasted his own time just telling you, it's like,
Yeah, like, if you don't have to watch it even, like, go away then. Fuck, I don't care.
right, right. I mean, for any reason you might want to use, I mean, whatever. See,
But there are types of people around that are only happy when they're complaining or telling somebody how to do something or to do something, or but it's it's pretty
right,
pointless sometimes talking to these people, because they'll just not they'll not accept anything that you say as a valid argument. So I mean, you can't really win against these people.
right. But to go back to YouTube briefly, see, I don't remember the exact story, but I know this. I know once YouTube hit the scene, or no, once Facebook hit the scene, that was to replace, that was definitely all a DARPA and ultimately transhuman and
Oh yeah.
technocratic plan for sure. And YouTube is definitely, for the most part, been involved. I do believe, I don't remember the exact people,
Well,
the exact story from the beginning, but
Well,
they
from the
certainly.
beginning, Joseph L. Licklider, or Joseph E. Anyways, Joseph Licklider is
Oh,
his name, from the IPTO. This started in 1966 to 1967. There's another guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but they started up under the advisement of ARPA. At the time, it was just ARPA. There was no D.
right,
But
right.
the actual the actual department, before it was named the IPTO, which is the Information Processing Techniques Office, it was actually
Yeah.
called, get this, Command and Control Systems.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it was called. That's the department it belongs to. And yes, their white paper, the document basically saying what their total scope and mission was to basically create an AI system that could basically micromanage everybody. Like it's a similar name to like the human terrain model, except for the human
Yeah.
terrain model's the new name. I don't remember what the actual term was they used in this white paper. I'm going to be doing a live presentation on that. I think it's time to do one of those again, because it's an eye opener. You got to remember that they worked on the system all the way up until CERN was contracted to build the World Wide Web, the WWW, and CERN created IP version 4, and that was in 1987, and that's when the internet started to get handed out to the regular people, like the public, but it still only kind of stayed in the hands of developers. And I'll tell you this, all the venture capital companies that were basically coming out of the woodwork were all funded by DARPA. See, what they were doing is they were handing the R&D, instead of doing it themselves in-house, they would charter all these businesses. Like, that's how all these .coms got their startup capital. They did all the research and development. And then the first big .com bust in, was at 2000. It was 2000, or was it 99? 2000, I think it was.
God, I can't. I'm not sure. I think it.
But you could bet your bottom dollar that every single one of those companies that went turtle, fucking basically, without exception, all of their data, all of their intellectual property, which is now in, basically it was in default of said venture capital. And since they lost, well, guess what? They just swept it all up. All of that research from all of those companies, all of their all their subscriptions, all the user data, all of the everything, absolutely everything. Loads and loads and gobs of priceless information. Do you think the boys at DARPA could have been any happier? And it happened again. It happened twice now. And they just reel it in. They just reel in all the goodies. Boom, 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 boom. Done.
It's all planned. It's all micromanaged. The beings, the
Well,
people, and
the
or
part that's not, though, there's a part that's not planned, and it's how long it takes, because they didn't do any of the heavy lifting. They didn't do the hard work. These other companies did the hard work for them.
oh yeah, I know. But see,
Right?
like the people we're dealing with are super intelligent, they do know this. They know what to expect from people and how to get them to do all the work and then reel it all in. They know they're on that astrological timeline. They
Sure, I don't
astro
know. I don't.
project.
Yeah, if they are, sure, that's great. I'm just saying though, like I don't think I don't think that their spells would affect how long it took. Like, let's say I was one of those engineers. Let's say I was one of those programmers for one of these IT companies that went belly up because we didn't understand the game because the game was brand new. We were making the game. Yeah, it would take me X amount of time, regardless. I don't know, like if somebody on their broomstick is fucking sitting there, like giving me, giving me the power of the universe. But no, it's going to take me fucking 10 years. Christ, it took me 22 years to write a book.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, for crying out loud. I'm just saying, though, like the time that it takes to do things still takes that amount of time. Like, if it was already done, then they wouldn't have needed them, and they would have deployed this thing 30 years ago. Well, they did, but you
Well,
know what I
like,
mean.
but I think they know to expect that. Like there's a lot people don't know about me, and in a way, I had a melodramatic life, and in other ways, it was pretty dramatic and pretty tapped into all kinds of things, directly and indirectly. And what it comes down to is we're dealing with absolute near God level intelligence and super psychic and be it big-headed, cone-headed ancient humans or actual aliens and or spirits from outer space or the past or whatever,
Hmm.
or future time experiments tapped into certain people's brains or whatever. In fact, I believe all of that's true to some degree at different places in time in our history. But they know. I was tapped into a lot of things, and they know what's to come. They know what to expect, how long it takes for stages of evolution of civilization and
Yeah.
technology to develop. And that's what I really mean. But I mean, you're right on the immediate level, absolutely.
Yeah.
And but the people really behind everything, above and or deeply below in the whole, they have the overall view. They have the overall. They know exactly what timing everything's going to take. They know all the cycles and stages and you know busts and booms and
Well,
everything.
well, I kind of, I have an inkling as to what their present course is, what their actual present goal is, and they want to plug like the whole human terrain model itself. They want to plug that into a quantum AI system
Oh yeah.
because then they'll instantly have the only course that will get them what they want, and then they can use a system to literally take us down that road. And people say, oh, well, what about exercising free will? It's like, well, you still are, just you happen to be exercising free will in the one dimension where it didn't work out. Sorry. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, that's just like I think that's where they're headed with all this, personally. Like, or at least that's
Well,
what they're trying to do.
everybody believes in free will, and it's both true and not true at all.
I agree.
It's basically we're dealing with two types of people that believe in free will and people that don't believe in free will. And they do believe and they do enforce their beliefs on you against your will. And if you're weaker, you'll succumb, you know. And the
Hmm.
problem is they understand the power of two against one or a group against the individual and the gang against the isolated. And they nailed it, man.
Yeah. Well, I think this is definitely a battle. I think I think you'll agree with me on this. Is that like this is definitely a battle for human consciousness, and it's against the synthetic version of itself. Like it's like this human consciousness experience is what's driving reality forward. Is what's supposed to be driving reality forward. But I think, like
Yeah.
you were saying, there is this other component where they're filling in the synthetic side of it, and the synthetic side is like, again, it's like, all of the muddy frequencies. It's all the crap food. It's all of the negative energies. It's all like, it's about basically hypnotizing somebody into this false brain state, and then no longer does that human consciousness start to create the reality. Now it's the other thing that's creating it, you know what I mean, for that person, I
Right.
mean, for the individual. So as that builds and it starts to coalesce into its own reality, and like that's the only way I can explain what we're experiencing right now, and it is a
Yeah.
combined effect of everybody slipping down that synthetic corridor. It's I think it's what's coming.
Yeah. Well, I do agree with that. And regardless of whatever I tell you, I know you're definitely a very intelligent person, and don't look at anything as combative.
No,
I
never,
mean,
never, never, never. No, it's because it's sometimes, like we were saying before, like Noam Chomsky, how he said about compartmentalization of language. Like, we've got so many different compartments that we can still speak in the same range. Like, we can still, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
because we're still taking it from a different kind of a perspective, or a different language, or a different experience. However, I think we're still fighting along the same path. We're still agreeing on the same principle, I guess, if you would.
I think see, I think Noam Chomsky has always, now that I look at it closer, I believe he probably always was a communist, though, and or maybe either chosen by the deeper technocrats, or always was more of a real, beyond what he said he was, and as far as altering the future of
Yeah,
mankind
I I I,
forcefully.
I wouldn't know, and like I don't know if this is
I'm
a
not sure either, but
I
it seems
I
like that
I
a lot
never
more now.
I never ever looked at those things before. Like, I never, like, when I would read like Stephen King, I never asked myself, is this person a communist? Like, I just
I
never
I think
I've
I
never
think
I've
you're
never
almost
used to
right.
do that. I've never done that. So, like, it's kind of a new thing for me.
Yeah, it's a little new for me, and it's not really new, but it's easier to really believe and figure out who is who. Yeah, and it looks like he was. I mean, you could say Illuminati by one definition. He's in. He's one of the chosen people, someone who was compromised. He's part of the family, not necessarily real deep in, not necessarily knowing too much, but everybody has,
Well, he didn't die early, so I don't know.
yeah,
He
and
didn't sell his soul, I guess. I don't know.
he may have. It looks more and more like he's always been in and chosen. Uh, all famous, just about all really promoted book writers yeah, just people like him, it turns out, usually are compromised or in. Like, I mean, real deep stuff too. I mean, I'm not sure what your limit is of what's believable or
I
not,
I don't
but
have I don't have a limit. I don't have a limit to what's believable, because I don't know what's true to what's not true. So
right, right.
I don't have a video of it. Like, I don't have, and apparently with deep fakes now, even that's not even credible anymore. So who knows? I mean, I experience what I experience. I always listen to what people have to say, and you know, I mean, take it for what it is. It is whatever it is. It's something
Yeah.
to that person that's speaking it and that's expressing it, and that's enough for me to at least have a listen. But
Yeah, me too. And my main concern is that just people simply are learning or are just social either way. Just my main concern isn't to get everyone to be um my exact ideal. I mean, not right
yeah.
now, someday in the future, but my goal is to simply prevent complete disaster, or now it doesn't even matter. We've crossed so many lines.
Hmm. Well,
uh,
it's like teaching someone to play euchre. Like
what's euchre?
it's a game. It's a card game, and it's basically you take out all the small cards out of the deck. You go 10 and face cards. Jacks or trump, and jack. You play your jacks. Aces are high, obviously, and then there's a procedure involved, so it makes the game a little bit tricky if you don't know the procedure. And some people are just fucking retarded. They just don't. They can't do anything. They could maybe tie a shoelace, maybe, but sometimes like this, the rules are just you got to tell them over and over and over and over again, and how to play, and they still just don't get the concept,
I
right? But
I'm like that now. I can't concentrate anymore.
well, you're getting old, for one.
Yeah.
I mean, and I mean, geez, there's so much to think about. I mean, I can't concentrate on one thing because I got 30 different things on the go all the time, and I'd be lucky if I finished one of them this week, But
Yeah.
I mean, I was even late for my own podcast, but and that's nothing new. But I digress. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing about the language aspect of it, I mean, is all based on experience. I mean, we can't expect somebody to come out of their reality and then listen to things that sound like they come from a movie. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, we can't.
Yeah.
That's not a way to get them to even stop and have a listen. B, it's unrelatable completely. And we also haven't asked their permission to go there yet. You know what I mean? Because for some people, it might be crossing some of their own taboos. I mean, let's face it. Like
Yeah, I
everyone
mean,
has their thing.
but as they have that choice to not listen, though, of course. And
Yeah, yeah. But I'm not talking about convincing them. I'm talking about just opening the doors to get them to at least hear something. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you'll scare people off 9 times out of 10 if they're not prepared for that genre of thinking or qualification. I mean, most of them don't even want to talk about how, they don't want to talk about anything. They don't want, they just,
well, that's the problem. They're not challenged enough
yeah.
either. You know,
Well,
they,
yeah, and that's half the problem right there, is that they're not challenged. They just want to talk about simple things that was on the TV last night at the water cooler, and does my hair look nice? Whatever.
you know what? They've all eroded each other. Each one eroded the other, so they're all eroded. They kind of all settled in. They just want to, it's the status quo
Yeah, it's
issue.
all the way from your parents. I mean, get good grades, get a good job, blah blah blah. It's the same speech. It's the same thing. It's cookie cutter, you know. But
Right,
name one generation though that was like the one that came before it. I mean, you know.
I thought we were gonna hang on. I was thinking we could do it. We could sort of like grow into the next generation and have a lot more in common, although very like we've all like the old people really kept up with the times, kept up with the new people, and the new people, new
Well,
kids, and so on.
I think our generation kind of did that a little bit because, like,
Yeah, I think we did, but I think it's all really falling apart now.
well,
Like, really.
most of us were dead 20 years ago just from drug overdoses alone. You know, like, I mean, let's just face it, right? And the rest of us that actually procreated, we were probably the worst parents ever. But we were also probably the closest to our children, I think, like in that time frame, like in that, because I know I didn't have kids myself, but I know lots of people who did, I grew up with, and it was, they were all trying to not be what their parents were.
Right, right.
Do you know what I mean? Like almost
Yeah,
collectively. So it was almost like we did away with a lot of issues. I'm not saying we did by any means, a perfect job, which is far from the truth. But I'm just saying, like I think we were very close, not just socially, but also in age as well. I mean, a lot of we were the generation of young moms and dads.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
You know,
And yeah, I think you're right. But now we're in the fourth turning in the fourth industrial age kind of thing, and all coerced and guided by money and the self-proclaimed powers that be, and they pretty much succeeded. They've wrecked it all. Uh, I have a more jaded view of the future for a lot of reasons, but I always leave the 1% rule, and that, for whatever reason we believe and however right we are, it still can turn out in the end different. And
I think we're gonna win. I think that's not the. I think that's. I think we are, but it's gonna take a long time, and I don't think it's gonna be anytime soon. And I don't think it's gonna be us. I don't think we won't be around to see it.
that's the thing. See, by now it should be us, and that's what pisses me off. And we could have made it. We could have made it to the stars, even with primitive technology instead of the top secret anything or mild top secret stuff. We didn't have to go into hyperspace, and we didn't have to have time machines and teleportation, but at least give us a goddamn chemical fricking rocket and a couple hotels on the moon, for God's sake. I mean, that's I mean by our time, by the time we,
Mm.
I mean, that's what we should have had. Not necessarily free energy or even antimatter, but at least freaking fusion power. You know what I mean? This is
Yeah.
the kind of thing that pisses me
Well,
off.
I mean, I really dislike this planet so much right now that I don't even want to die here. Like I'm
Yeah, yeah, me too.
like
That's my right.
send me
That's my
send me to
philosophy.
Mars, Venus, slam me into the sun. I don't give a fuck. Just the,
Well, we may have come from Mars. Basically a lot of souls supposedly migrated to Earth
I actually
once.
I wrote a. It's probably got a fictional story where that's actually an element too.
I should have guessed that actually.
Yeah.
And if it didn't exist, I'm sure, just talking about it would with you would immediately
No.
start one in your mind.
There's a lot of funny stuff that I threw into that storyline too. It's actually called the Echelon Agreement, and it's actually the reason I named my company Echelon Publishers Group because it's the name of one of my stories that I still haven't
Oh, yeah.
published. And
That's cool. Yeah.
yeah, but
That's a good idea.
I got to finish writing it though because it's so crazy. But
I never finished just about anything. I began titles and all kinds of stuff and a whole bunch of great, great concepts in every area, but my life was just too chaotic. I just couldn't, still is.
well, I finally finished one book, but I have to finish editing it now, which is almost like writing it. Hopefully, it doesn't take another 20 years. I don't think I have that long left. But
Yeah, nobody does. That's it. I know how this is going. I mean, I've seen the future, and it's not always exactly true, but and we are mentally stared by outside forces and black mentalists and everything. But most of my what I've seen in the past have come true, and the thing I look at it this way,
hmm,
it almost at this point does not matter if we lose here. People like us, this is practice. I just say it's practice for the next life and what comes after. And I mean, I just want to get away from here. I
well,
mean,
at least I have a better chance of a flying car. Fuck.
yeah, yeah, I know, right? We should at least have hovercrafts as well
Unless
as
my
a
next
guard.
life is in the past, that would suck.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends if it was in just the right place, though. You could get a good, happy medium, like if you had a hot, cute wife and pretty good life and in touch with all the secret technology,
I don't know.
maybe, maybe. But still, the
Maybe
future,
that would mean something to that guy.
yeah, but still, either way, the future is still going to end up the same. So if you had kids, you know what their fate would be. You back then, basically, I used to want to go back in time and start start Atlantis, but knowing that it would eventually fall into the sea. But beginning beginning it correct, planning on it eventually falling into the sea, telling everyone ahead of time that that's what's going to happen and don't get corrupted, but you will get corrupted, and we'll have to leave by the time it falls into the sea, knowing that it's going to fall in the sea since we came from the future. See, I wanted to do that, and then I could tell the real story of what happened to Atlantis. Come back to the future, and tell the
Yeah,
story
I don't believe in linear time travel at all. Not one.
linear.
I do not believe in linear time travel. You go back to the past, you start a new timeline branch. You start a whole new thing. There's just no way.
No, I
Causality is
figured all
broken.
that out.
Causality is
No, no,
broken.
no. It's incorporated. No, it's you are going back to the past that basically the future you're in that you began with has always already been changed
Okay.
by you going in the
In your
past.
book, not mine. In my book, in Memoirs of a Time Traveling Idiot, he doesn't actually time travel. He's always jumping from parallel to parallel. And the one time that he does do time travel, he ends up creating basically a cascade. Like basically, it's like a nested cascade event that turns into a Big Bang kind of creation of 186 parallel universes. And
Why 186?
well, 187 because it's Moida.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a comedy, by the way. It's my tribute to Douglas Adams, and his work. I love me my Douglas Adams, man. He's funny.
Is Douglas Adams I'm not sure who that is.
He wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, it is him. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I was going to bring that up earlier.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's one of my favorite comedy writers.
Yeah, that was good. Um and I like the last movie they made on it too.
Actually,
Like
he wrote the screenplay for that, and they didn't mess with it very much. They did a couple of small things, but that screenplay, he updated it for the modern crowd. Like he switched, what was it, digital watches for cell phones, and just little things like that for the newer watches, right? But yeah, he wrote all of that just before he died.
what was the name of that actress? Chloe?
Wow, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, I
Um,
forgot.
I can't even remember. What was her name? Trinity in the show, like in the movie. Was it Trinity?
You're probably right.
I think
I'm not sure.
I,
But
I, I keep thinking Mercedes, but no, that's not the one. That's a different one
no.
altogether.
No, Trinity may have been in something else too. I'm thinking.
Well, that's the
What was it?
Matrix, but
Oh yeah, of course. But actually, hold on. I'll be right back.
yeah, be interesting. Well, we're getting closer and closer to midnight my time, so we're almost at 3. Well, yeah, you went back, right? So it's like, what, 2 a.m. at your place? Do we have anybody? The current resolution is 1920 by 1080, which is not optimal. All right. Still there, Billy. Oh, maybe he just put down his keyboard. I'm not sure if he was looking something up there. I thought I heard his keyboard click, click, click away. But as we're nearing, we're 5 to midnight Pacific time, to be specific. And probably going to call her a night now. Wait for Billy to get back and see.
Yeah, I'm back. I forget the last thing I heard you say.
Oh, I was just saying, like just now or before?
Like just after I got up, I said I'll be right back,
Oh,
and
okay.
then
I thought you
it's
were. Yeah, I was just saying it's getting close to midnight here. That's like how the beginning of that Michael Jackson song goes. It's close to
oh yeah, yeah.
midnight. Anyway,
Yeah, it's
but
just about 3 o'clock here. That what normally would be 3 o'clock, but because of the time slip, we it's 2 o'clock. But I know that's an illusion, and I'm really going to be hurting in the morning.
oh yeah, 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 yeah. They literally just robbed an hour of your life.
Yeah, yeah, it's a screwed up system. Arizona doesn't go by that. I think at least parts of Arizona, or I'm
uh,
not sure now.
I'm gonna have
I'm
to
not.
check. I'm gonna have to check my local time too, because just to be sure,
You know,
not like I have any appointments to keep or anything. So it's not like
part of my history. Part of my history, Rob, is like I don't talk a lot about it. All my backup and backings, it would be a big mess. People are dead and everyone's gone and no one can back me up. And most of my stuff has been ruined or lost and stolen. So, I mean, I studied time travel. I literally was very serious about making a time machine. And so I theoretically came up with my field generator that was a little more than just theory. And my versions of unified fields, and um, it's sort of ether and not ether based. It was more about energy rays through time and space and convergences and all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, I was very serious about unifying gravity, taking the force of what gravity should be as time moving energy and directing energy, and using that to make a time machine, and a space machine. So, if you can control energies through time, then a time machine is a UFO. In other words, it if you can manipulate the streams of time, the energy raised through time, then you're simultaneously creating a ship that can physically move in space as well. So you're making a gravity, anti-gravity kind of
yeah.
machine. So
Well,
either is either.
I was going to say a movement through time is no different as a vector than any of the three cardinal directions, really.
Yeah, like through a vacuum, any direction in a vacuum or not,
Well, even through sand, you still you still
Yeah,
going through time as a vector. Like it wouldn't matter, even if you didn't move. You know what I mean? You're still moving through time as a vector, um, which is why it's funny because a violation in simple physics would be in a video game where if you're moving forward and up at the same time and you're doing two directions at once, a bad programmer would multiply your forward velocity times your forward momentum times your up momentum, and then you'd end up with a number greater than your actual speed, and you actually go into infinity. But that's if you're a bad programmer, because you're multiplying the two directions instead of using the square root, right? But
right, right.
point is that it's getting late. We're gonna call her here. Do you have anything that you wanted to send off on?
Um, no, but it was fun. Thanks for the invite. And
No worries.
basically, just basically, remember regular lightning, just lightning, normal lightning alone can power all of our lives. And to sort of go back to that, but good video you had there. That was funny. And
Yeah, I mean, it's diabolical. Like these headpieces, basically these mouth yappy gums. It's just like just flap, 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 flap. Fucking no, no, no! Don't flap about that. I flap about this thing. I want you to flap. Oh, okay. How about this other thing? No, no, no. This thing. The other thing? No, this. It's just
no, nope, this
yeah.
this thing right here.
Oh, I don't know that. It's just
Focus, focus.
oh, it's horrible. Anyway,
Yeah.
my girl Maya wants to go out for a pee. Yeah, you want to go for a pee? Yeah, you do. All right, there. You don't ever ask a dog that; they'll always say yes. But anyway, yeah, I want to just say rest well tonight. Wherever you are, rest well or have a great day. And don't do anything I wouldn't do. From the edge of the apocalypse, this has been Robert J. Morris, Billy Grant on EPGN, and we'll get at you next time. All right. And
Nighty night.
peace.